Hello and welcome to DJL Exotics. I'm David and this is Susie, and today we're going to be talking about house snake care. Before we get started, there's two bits of housekeeping. Number one, we are animal led, so if Susie has decided that she's had enough, we'll be getting out Acorn. And apart from that, please remember to like, share and comment on the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much, and let's get into the video. So house snakes are one of the more interesting species of snakes that you can keep. These guys are relatively very simple. They're more like the corn snake of the African world, being easy to keep, very docile, love to interact, love to be handled. But they are more rarer than you would get on the corn snakes. But their care is relatively very simple. These guys come from these ones are Cape, so they come from right down south. But there are actually 6 different species of house snake within Africa, and all of them have relatively the same kinds of care. Let's get started with the enclosure. The enclosure should be wood and vivarium for females. This should be about 4 foot long. These guys are very good at roaming around their enclosure. They do like a little bit of space. You can use a lot of decorations in there. You could get away with a 3 foot in theory because it has the right kind of dimensions, but if you can, try to get for that 4 foot. The males is a little bit more challenging for because they are a lot smaller, a lot thinner, a lot more sleek, and they can actually escape out of the smallest cracks. I would actually recommend putting those guys into more of a rub setup, like a 12 litre or a 32 litre, depending on the space that you have available. And those guys do need to have a very secure lid. Make sure that that lid is tight on and not able to be shifted out. They can slip out the little crack at the top. Now, for the substrate, I'd recommend using aspen or a sand soil base, very much more natural like for these guys. Paper towel is okay, and they will be happy on paper towel, but I think they actually prefer the aspen and the soil because they like to dig a little bit. These guys do burrow themselves down a little bit further every so often and go into that. You also want to make sure that you've got your temperatures right, so using an overhead or underhead heating system. Remember, if you're using an overhead, to use a dimmerstat and a cage around the heating element. I recommend a ceramic bulb, because the ceramic bulb means it can be on all the time, and the dimmerstat can be controlled of that. You can get dimmerstats which have a different night and day temperature, allowing you to maintain a natural nighttime drop, but you can just have a normal dimmerstat that will allow for a consistent temperature around about the 30 to 32 degrees. On the cold end, you don't need any heating. If you do use an underground or a heat mat, remember to put a thermostat on it, again between 30 and 32 with a 1 degree differential. Just remember to make sure that it's all buried and secured, and that the probe is secure on the heat mat. For the hides, you need to have one on the hot side and one on the cold side, and ensure that you also have a misting box. These guys do have trouble shedding. That's one of the issues I would say with them, that sometimes they can struggle with their sheds. So it's always best to have a nice humid box in there which they can go into and shed out. Now, these guys do like to explore, they do like to hide, so having lots of decorations in there. Now again, and I've said this before in other videos, be sure not to use the aquarium decorations, such as the skulls, or the croc skulls, or the pirates, just things like that. Things that got little holes in them that they can sneak their head through, because there is a possibility that they get stuck in those, and that can be heartbreaking for you to actually break that up, and it can hurt the snake. Instead, try to stick to more natural decor, such as stones, plastic plants. Try to get cork bark. You can get tubes, or you can get nice arches, those sorts of things. One of the things that we find quite useful is some of those hamster tubes where you get the wooden log. It's got a hole right through the middle and a couple of holes in the side. These guys absolutely love them, and then will wrap around them, and that's one of the things that these guys love to do. You can see here that Susie is just all curled up, and this is a natural state for a house snake. They like to curl up nicely and tight in a ball, much like a ball python would do almost, and kind of like balling up, but these guys have their head out, just exploring. It's just a natural way that they kind of explore the world. Lighting for these guys is not essential. UVB doesn't give them too much benefit, though there is some evidence that it can be beneficial, but it's not essential. And so I wouldn't say that you need it. If you want to add it in, make sure that you've got the right level. You probably want to go for either the 2 or the 7% with these guys. Certainly not the desert. I would probably err on the 2%. Apart from that, you could use some LED lighting just to light up the environment and give them a day-night cycle like that, or you could keep them in a room where you get that natural daylight cycle. The diet for these guys is relatively simple. They eat mice and they are very good at it. Once they've been established feeding, and that can be quite difficult as a youngster, they will eat every week no matter what. You want to really use medium or large mice for these guys when they're adults, and that's really simple. They will tongue feed, or you can actually put it in there and do what we call nesting, and we have a whole video on enrichment ideas which includes how to do nesting, and I'll put the video up there for you. Apart from that, what you also need to consider is some of the other enrichment. So you could actually do scenting around their enclosure for them to sniff and smell. These guys do like to smell a lot, and they use their tongue for that. They have an organ at the top of their mouth called a Jacobson, like all snakes, and they essentially taste the air. Feeding once a week is absolutely perfectly natural for these guys. They don't tend to go through any seasonal differences, so you won't get like your hog noses where you have to make them. These guys are active all year round. So it's a very simple once a week meal. We feed our snakes every Sunday. Remember to always replace the water once a day. You should replenish their water, give it nice and fresh. It just has to be tap water because the chlorine will dissipate out of that. Handling with these guys is very simple. They are very calm handlers. As you can see, Susie has just been on me the whole time and she just likes to explore. They will wrap themselves or anchor around you quite a lot. These guys just adore being handled. They don't tend to have any kind of defensive problems at all. I've never experienced a defensive posture by any of these guys. They just literally go for the handling and like to curl up and just be handled. That said, there are a few times when you might not want to handle them. For instance, after they've been fed for 2 days, remember to stop the handling, and also to not handle them when they're in shed, because obviously the scales over their eyes go into that bluey phase which they can't see out of, so they can't see it's you. Apart from that, other enrichment ideas, as we said, during the feeding schedule, but you can also try other enrichment ideas like swapping around their enclosure, adding new items in, taking items out, and give them a new environment to explore. That way you're giving them mental stimulation which can prolong their life and also keep them happy inside their enclosure. Cleaning and maintenance for these guys is relatively simple. Cleaning is done on a weekly or bi-weekly thing, like on a Wednesday or Sunday. What you want is just to go in there, make sure that you're cleaning up any toileting. You can get a clean-up crew to do this, but I still recommend going in there and cleaning up any toileting or issues like that. On a weekly basis, that's what you need to do. On a monthly basis, I would replace all the substrate and add in some new substrate. If you're using aspen, if you're using a sand soil, you could probably do this every so long, a little bit longer in between, but I would always have the clean-up crew if you're using sand soil, because that's the best way to keep that kind of clean and smelling fresh. Remember to always clean the decorations inside your enclosure with a reptile safe cleaner. You can get F10, which is used by vets, or you can get the Johnson's reptile cleaner. Apart from that, maintenance for these guys is very simple. Just give them a health check a couple of times a week. Remember to looking for stuck shed or issues like that. These guys don't really have many health issues. They are relatively hardy. They just love their food. They love their interaction. Their only real issue is the shedding problem, but you can resolve that by using a humid box that they will sit in. If that doesn't work, then you can give them a bath and gently massage them. What you do is that you just rub your hand over it with a paper towel or a towel, and that will just bring off any of the other stuck shed that they've got on them. But if you've got a moist hide inside the enclosure, that will do quite well. Apart from that, that's all you really need to know about looking after your house snake. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got any questions about house snakes, please put them in the comments below. Other than that, please like and share for this video. And we hope to see you in another one, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. Bye.